Greetings wherever you are. Happy Easter to those who have celebrated. Happy Easter to those that are going to be celebrating. Happy Passover. I'm in the Republican Overseas studio. Today with me, I have the chairman, Jonathan Constantine, and I also have with us, straight from the UAE, Stefanos Karavidas. Stefanos is a squadron leader, retired, graduate of Acropolis School in Nicosia. He served in the Hellenic Airforce for 20 years in fighter squadrons, flying A-7 Corsairs and F-16 aircraft, accumulating over 4,000 flight hours. He served as an instructor at the Weapons Tactics School, from which he graduated first in his class as a student, as well as the Air Tactics Center. Stefanos was also trained by the United States Air Force in all modern smart weapons, systems, and tactics, as well as in network-centric operations via Link 16. Stefanos received specialized training in close air support missions, such as the Joint Terminal Attack Controller, and subsequently organized Greek Close Air Support School at the ADC. Stefanos now lives with his family and works in the UAE as a flight instructor and training consultant at the university institutions and aviation training schools. He also serves without compensation as teaching staff at the Command and Staff School of the Hellenic Air Force War College, where he teaches air power theory, geopolitics, and international relations. At the undergraduate level, he studied history, social sciences, strategic studies, and geopolitics at the Department of Turkish and Northern Asian Studies of the National and Kapodistrian University of Athens. He holds a master's degree in international relations with a European studies with a specialization in the Middle East, and is currently a PhD candidate in the geopolitics of air power at the same university. Stefan, it's great to have you with us, and an honor to read such a CV.
Good evening. Thanks for the long introduction, and thank you for having me and provide me a unique opportunity to address to an English-speaking international audience, and in particular, our fellow Greeks across the United States, and share my perspective. You will allow me, please, as an entry, to highlight that my work focuses on how military capabilities, especially air power, as a geopolitical factor, and not as a tool only, reshape geopolitical space and strategic balances. And air power, in particular, compresses geography. It can reduce reaction time, expand operational reach, and redefine, as we can see now in Iran, what we traditionally understood in the past as distance in geopolitics.
Right, that's very interesting, and I would love for us to deep dive into the geopolitical situation with the focus on Iran. Just for the audience to get to know you a little bit, what prompted you to transition into the UAE?
Actually, I had served for 20 years as a fighter pilot and officer in the Hellenic Air Force, like you stated, but at the point, there is a milestone for every aviator. He has to switch from the air base, from the operational environment, and go to the staff. This is a step that not all of us are willing or able to tolerate. So that defined my decision with not a great joy to exit the Hellenic Air Force. However, I have to say that our uniform is like what the priests wear, and we carry it all the time with us. And we continue to represent our country and our institution, the Hellenic Air Force and the Hellenic Armed Forces, on all the fields that we act. So, like you said, the last almost 8 years, I have been living in UAE. This is my guest country. And we are also expecting to see what is going to be the trend on the current crisis. We live the daily life here, and this gives us an opportunity to forward, let's say, our opinion on how this state here is handling this crisis. And this will be, in the near future, a case study. I would like to say regarding UAE that at a time when volatility and escalation define the regional environment, the United Arab Emirates have demonstrated a model of measured, we could say, strategic restraint in their handling of the crisis with Iran. This is remarkable because rather than reacting impulsively, or being drawn, let's say, into a premature confrontation, the UAE has demonstrated a strategic calmness and has consistently prioritized stability, continuity, and the protection of its natural interests. Long story short, this approach is underpinned, we could say, by credible strength. The UAE's advanced air defense architecture and the high readiness of its armed forces provide a robust shield against emerging threats, and ensuring that the deterrence is not just theoretical, but it's operationally real. And the security is maintained not only through capability, but through resilience, through confidence, and confidence that is clearly reflected across society. And this is very important because it's equally important as well that there is a remarkable composure of both Emiratis citizens and the large community, the large majority of expats like myself, who call the UAE home. In moments of uncertainty, like the ones that we live right now, this collective society, community, reflects deep trust in the state, the institution, and the ability to manage the crisis effectively. It is a very rare, that's why I mentioned it as a case study, example of a society, diverse yet unified, standing steady under pressure. And to complete, at the same time, the UAE's economic resilience remains a decisive factor. Everybody's worried what is going to happen in the UAE. The UAE, trust me, they have the way to pass to the next stage. And with strong financial reserves, with diversified investments, and the forward-looking economic model, the country is well positioned not only to withstand the external shocks, but also to emerge stronger, like it happened in the past. It happened during the COVID or the 2008 economical crisis. So history, like I already mentioned, has shown that periods of crisis often create new strategic and economic opportunities. If you are able, in terms of finance, please come and invest here in UAE. Trust me, in a very short time, you're going to be happy about that decision, because UAE is uniquely, let's say, placed to capitalize on the opportunities once the stability returns. And last, and I'm closing, above all, this is a steady course. This is a course that reflects the capability and the vision of the leadership. The UAE's leadership has demonstrated clarity, discipline. They have demonstrated long-term strategic thinking and planning, and choosing not the path of reaction, but the path of calculated control. And in doing so, they have reinforced the country's role as a pillar and as a pivot state in the area, a pillar of stability, of resilience, and opportunity in an increasingly and uncertain region. So that's it. We are feeling safe to be here in UAE, and maybe this is sounding to the ears of the people abroad too strange or exceeding the limits of reality, but this is the reality. Of course, we don't have the tourists, but the residents, in close cooperation with the locals, yes, they are going to hold this country strong.
That's beautiful to hear. It's also very reassuring. From your perspective, what's happening now with Iran, not necessarily with the UAE?
From a geopolitical perspective, it's obvious that this conflict accelerates the transition, like too many people better than me have said, from a unipolar to a more fragmented, multi-layered security environment. The Eastern Mediterranean, our region between Greece and Cyprus, and also the blue homeland of the Turks, becomes a critical junction. And this area is linking Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. And the control of airspace, sea lanes, and energy corridors is now obviously directly tied to military capability and alliance structures. And this is where we have to invest. What we are witnessing today is not just another regional conflict. It is a systemic, we could say, confrontation that challenges the existing security architectures of the Middle East. Iran has for years invested in asymmetric capabilities: ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, proxies, unmanned aerial systems, to offset the conventional disadvantages that they face. And what we now see is the operationalization of that doctrine on a very large scale. And this as well is going to be a case study in the near future for those that they study the military affairs. At the same time, the response from the Western aligned actors reflects a shift towards integrated air and missile defense, network-centric warfare in a scale that we never saw in the past, and rapid coalition coordination. This is not simply a war of territories. It's a revolution. It's a war of systems, of sensors, of networks, and of strategic depth. And we saw it clearly during the CSAR combat search and rescue operation deep in Iran. The capabilities of the military system of the United States define clearly the outcome and the result. Now, I would like to describe the big picture. Obviously, the United States are acting following the strategy of coercion. The strategy of coercion is an enduring and central concept, has an enduring and central concept in strategic studies. This is the core, let's say, one of the cores of the strategic studies, and offers mainly four primary options. The first option was the threat of the use of the force. Obviously, this didn't work since we stepped into the use of the arms. The second is the punishment. That means target the population in order to generate internal political pressure or on the leadership to capitulate. As Robert Pape, a strategist on air power, explains in his book, Bombing, somewhere here, Bombing to Win with Air Power and Coercion in War, this form of coercion requires, in a sense, the cooperation of the coerced that has as precondition a deep understanding of the adversary's social resilience, values, and thresholds. Are they willing to cooperate, or they are willing to continue the opposition? This is something very important. We saw it in Korea, we saw it in Vietnam. We saw it also during the mass bombing of Nazist Germany during the Second World War. It also assumes that the attacking side can impose greater coercion on the enemy population than the regime itself can exert internally. So in practice, however this approach is being attempted, has failed so far to produce the expected outcome. What is the third option? The third option is the decapitation, the removal of the leadership, which has also proven largely ineffective in this case. So finally, what stays last is the denial. That means the systematic and persistent targeting of the opponent's military capabilities to the point of their comprehensive, we could say, degradation. This remains the only viable pathway toward achieving a meaningful political outcome. So at present, we see that the conflict has reached a state of stalemate and stagnation, one that, for multiple reasons, cannot be sustained indefinitely. We cannot stay forever on this stagnation, on this stalemate. So despite the fact that the attacking side has significantly degraded Iran's air force, air defense, and naval capabilities, what we expect, there is still no clear or immediate political outcome result on the horizon. So under those conditions, what I mean to say is that escalation, and obviously not potentially anymore, some form of ground involvement appears unfortunately to be the only remaining and increasingly inevitable option. And this is not something that I personally come to comment on right now. I have written an article more than 3 weeks back when it was not so obvious that an invasion is about to come. However, in the event of a ground intervention, this same model, the model of the mosaic warfare that Iran is using right now, from advantage is going most likely to prove as a disadvantage. That means the adoption of what is often described as mosaic warfare, a decentralized approach to force structure and operations, has so far functioned as both an advantage and a challenge for the adversaries. But what if we have successfully put on the ground the same model to turn into a liability? And if the decentralized, and by putting an end, units are unable to reinforce and support each other effectively under pressure, the absence of a more now centralized command structure capable of coordinating both horizontally and vertically would severely limit Iran's ability to sustain coherent resistance. So this is the big picture. Even if at the level of grand strategy, there was an intention from the United States to engage militarily against Iran, the time of that decision, the absence of the necessary political and military preconditions, and the lack of proper preparatory actions in both domains, effectively, we saw that so far undermined the prospects for a rapid and low-cost success. So what is inevitable at this point, the attackers, they are no longer operating by choice. They are operating under strategic necessity, and they are compelled to escalate, like I described, and become far more actively involved. Before putting this end, I would like also to highlight a strategic mistake by Iran that they are going to pay about. At the same time, Iran has made a critical mistake that is likely to prove very costly. And what is that? That was the escalation against the Arab countries. By escalating its response against the Arab states, Iran expanded the conflict beyond the limit, beyond its optimal strategic focus. So the Arab states are neither Zionists, and nor they did seek involvement, nor did they allow their territory so far to be used for military operations against Iran. So Iran had the option to concentrate the retaliation efforts exclusively against Israel and United States forces, delivering more mass, targeted, and therefore, let's say, more effective strikes. So instead, by hitting civilian areas in the Arab states, political targets, energy installations, infrastructure, and causing civilian casualties that they had zero responsibility, they have lost what we could describe as its moral advantage, if one there is such, even within parts of the Muslim world. So if the militarily powerful Arab monarchies move away from the current posture of strategic restraint and patience and form a coalition against Iran, especially an Iran already deprived of effective power and their defense, then the consequences for Iran could be severe. Furthermore, Iran's ground capability often are overestimated by many observers, and they remain largely untested, we could say, in modern high-intensity warfare like the one that the United States and Israel, the allies, are able for, particularly given the absence of comparable experience since the Iran and Iraq war ended. If Iran's actions succeed in turning Arab states militarily against it, it risks opening a front that exceeds its tactical capacity to manage, and this is going to give a strategic outcome. As previously we analyzed, Iran's adoption of mosaic warfare, the decentralized operational model, has so far functioned, but in the future it can be proven as a disadvantage. Now, what I wanted to highlight last is that the decision by the United States and Israel to eliminate Ali Khamenei has fundamentally altered Iran's internal decision-making structure. So right now, we don't know who is taking the decisions, and by removing decentralized political control and whatever degree of strategic restraint it provided till that time, it has effectively unleashed parallel and overlapping power centers that make the decision, and what emerges is a form of strategic fragmentation. I mean, a system where autonomous actors make decisions with potentially far-reaching consequences, but without unified political oversight. So this is the big picture. I regard that the United States and Israel, they did a mistake in the beginning. They didn't calculate right the situation, the preparatory measures they had to do, both in political and military spectrum. And Iran did the mistake to act against the Arab countries of the neighborhood. This means that if this coalition forms, then this is beyond the ability of Iran to face, to confront. This is it, and it's not highlighted too often. I think I have not seen it so far. The elimination of Ali Khamenei maybe changed the root of this crisis. Maybe if he was alive, he wouldn't have decided to target the Arab states. We're going to see in the next days if what I mentioned has, let's say, any trends to the reality.
I appreciate that, Stefan, especially considering the fact that Arab foreign policy is usually evolving around emotion rather than anything else. So it's very interesting to see how you interpret it in terms of military strategy and geopolitics. I'd like to hear, Jonathan, how do you weigh in on the two theses?
Well, first of all, hello to our viewers. Hi, Stefanos, because it's the first time we're chatting in English in public because we usually speak in private. Now, it is my opinion, and I've never talked about it because the operation is already in progress, that it was a calculated move. We wanted that to happen. We wanted the decentralization to start exactly so we can reach this predictable level of, let me call it semi-anarchy, local commanders taking matters into their own hands. And once you sever the connection between these local commanders, then it's a little bit going back to a feudal system. Each commander is responsible for a specific area, no communication with the other commanders. And the most important total absence is air power. So we're talking about very, let's say, low-tech type of war in which whoever controls the skies and has the higher ground, let me put it that way, can control the outcome. I think that at least the private discussions that I've had with people with stateside, I think this was exactly our intention. We were counting on the fact that Iran has a decentralized system. It would be much harder to hit it as a unified front than being able to piece them little by little. I think that in the long run, it'll be much more advantageous. Plus, we have something else. Assuming we destroy the infrastructure and there is no communication, no production, no banks, no money, no water, no electricity, the system will implode very soon, and the various factions will start to fight between themselves. I'd like your take on that, Stefanos.
Jonathan, thanks for the step and the bridge that you are giving me to the big field of air power. Because we have seen in the near past, that too many people and analysts and also people from the academic side, they have highlighted the importance of the ballistic capabilities of Iran, plus the missile-centric warfare. You know that I have been an F-16 pilot. My PhD is focusing exactly on the importance of the air power, and the air power not as just a tool, but as a strategic pillar. And in the United States, you have been very lucky to have some of the more important aviation and air power theories, like the well-known for the ODA loop model, John Boyd, John Warden, or in the past, Billy Mitchell and Alexander de Seversky. And this introduction brings us to the critical distinction. What is particularly important to understand is the difference between ballistic or artillery-centric warfare and air power-centric warfare. Ballistic missiles and long-range fires can impose cost, create disruption, and generate, of course, psychological pressure. I remind about the book of Julio Douet, The First air power theorist, that he was saying in the Commanding Through the Air book that the ballistic missile or the strategic so-called bombing is used against mostly the public, against the civilians, in order to stress them and from their side to press the governments in order to surrender and follow what the intruder is going to request or demand better in the political spectrum. So, but those missiles, once launched, they are largely inflexible. On the other side, what we have the air power. Air power, by contrast to that, operates within what we describe, and I already mentioned the ODA loop of John Boyd. That's it, the ability to observe, to orient, to decide, and act faster than the adversary in a continuous cycle. And we saw that specifically in the CSAR operation. That was it, the outcome of the air power in synergy with special forces. This gives flexibility. There is no flexibility in the ballistic inventory. And this gives air power the persistence, the adaptability, and real-time decision-making ability. And it allows you not only to strike targets, but to reshape the battle shape, the battle space, and do it in a dynamic way, neutralizing launch platforms, disrupting command networks, that's very important, distracting the decision-making loop of the adversary, and denying the enemy initiative. And this is important. Why? Because there are too many important theories back in Greece that they say, okay, we should become like Turkey or like Iran and focus on the artillery-centric warfare. No, it's not one or the other. Having air power and being able to achieve air superiority or air supremacy, it's difficult. It's the precondition of doing anything. If you don't have it, you are just sentenced to lose. And we saw it during the Israeli-Arab wars. We saw it also during this time in Iran. This is going to be the outcome. I'm writing articles and I'm making analysis as far as I can do. And I'm saying, United States is going to achieve a political goal. And they say to me, you support them. No, it's not a matter if I support. When you are acting as an analyst, there is not supporting. Analysis like Professor Mazes, the father of geopolitics in Greece, as he states, it's like an X-ray. It is what it is. After you do the analysis, you go to the strategy part, the strategic part, the geostrategy. This is where you add your ego and you add what is your will and what is the outcome that you want to reach to. So, like I was saying before, the idea is not new. Like I already mentioned, as early as the 20th century, air power theorists like Billy Mitchell and Alexander de Seversky, there are very nice books that we can study, argued that control of would determine the outcome of the future wars. If you don't have it, you just have no chance. What are we witnessing today is the practical confirmation of that vision. Air power is not just simply a supporting arm of the armed forces. It is a decisive element that converts defense into strategic control. And why I go so deep in that, because we have Greece and Cyprus, and on the other side, we have Turkey. And this is an area that we have to deepen our analysis and our military thinking. This is it, and I don't know if I covered you or you want me to go more
yes.
into
in terms of air power, I would like to interject that we saw in the Second World War, this is a classic example, the German Luftwaffe was doing famously when it was hitting the English factories, it crippled Britain. But then they switched their tactics to terrorizing the population and hitting, and then everything went sour because the British were able to ramp up production of their fighter planes and finally win the war of Britain. Same thing here in Iran. You notice we're targeting all the missile production facilities, and now we will be hitting roads, bridges, power plants, which means they won't be able to produce. They won't be able to move. They won't be able to pay because we'll destroy all the infrastructure and the banks. So there will be no money, no power, no water. Well, speaking of water, there's a big, big lie and a big tool of propaganda. I know you've said it in Greek, but it's about time you say it in English as well. Big lie that the Iranians have been spreading that they'll hit the desalination plants in the UAE. Tell us in English again what you've told us in Greek.
Like I already mentioned, UAE is a case study state. What they did, they used the time and their resources to organize themselves and to prepare exactly for this situation. So they had the so-called 2036 strategic plan, if I well remember, about the desalination and the capacity of water. So they have more than 70 points of desalination, and they have almost 20,000 kilometers of pipelines overlapping between the 7 Emirates. Also, they have big tanks, 80-meter deep in the ground and south to the desert. That means this will give them the capacity to tolerate an aggressive attack during towards the installations, at least for 90 days. So we understand that they are not sentenced, and like it was falsely described in Greece, the water is not going to stop after 2 days. So they have a big plan, and they have implemented it, and it's ready and it's working. Apart from that, only 40% of the water is coming from desalination in UAE. Another 40% is coming from the ground, because if you see the map to the east side, it's the Hajar Mountains, this mountain line that starts from Hormuz and goes south to the Indian Ocean and Oman territory. So another 40% comes from there. Also, they have big dams, and also they have water coming from rain. Last 2 weeks it was raining too many days, and this gave assistance.
I suggest they go back a little bit to their history books. Now, what I would like to for us to discuss is the shift of the, let's say, Iranian influence, the Iranian domino, I would call it, towards the West.
Can I interject and ask something before we look into that? If you don't mind. This is a question to both of you. I don't specialize in Air Force at all, but I'm looking at this conflict and I'm seeing very cheap weapons in airspace being used on one side. So my question to you both is, do you think this means that we're going to have potentially an evolutionary doctrine in terms of arms development in the airspace, and then potentially even into space itself? Because I know, for example, some consultants were looking into putting lasers on the moon and using them as defense systems. So do you think, mostly you, Stefan, do you think that we're going to see
start first, because
this conflict fast-tracked
something? I would like to add something before that related to the previous topic. Also, it's not highlighted many times. There is the British factor and the City of London. The City of London was overpassed by Dubai on all the aspects of economy and social life. And that was against the improvements of the life in London and UK. So those tabloids of UK, those tabloids and the media there, they have targeted Dubai on purpose. And they are lying because of that. Because Dubai is the new hub, a new hub on a big spectrum that has surpassed once and for all, London and London City.
I really agree with you, Stefanos, because from what I see, the only people that have left Dubai are the influencers. There are people that, flash, whatever.
On the contrary, most billionaires from London have moved to Dubai.
Exactly. And London is turned to a Muslim city. And I think you have been quite vocal, not you personally, but the people in United Arab Emirates have been quite vocal because they do travel to London about how bad it's turning, and obviously this has influenced British policy, not to intervene in the Gulf conflict, despite the fact that they're going to be the ones getting the worst economic damage, and second, fostering Muslim radicalism to the point that the King Charles didn't issue an Easter proclamation this year, but did issue a proclamation for the Ramadan.
There's some Arab countries that often don't. Sorry, Stefan.
If you travel to London, you are not going to feel safe. Come to Dubai, come to Abu Dhabi, leave your mobile phone anywhere, and go after 1 or 2 days. It's going to be there. And actually, the time that you're going to reach it, somebody will come to you and ask you, who are you and why you take it. You have to clarify that it's yours. You have to make it sure for the system. And this is the situation here. It's an open-minded society, open-minded states. The Emiratis, they are not like the Arab people in Qatar. I have been everywhere, or in Saudi Arabia. Like I told you, they were blessed to have a visionary leadership under the Al Nahyan and Al Maktoum families, that they see with open eyes what is happening in the global. Here, the weekend is not Friday and Saturday like in the rest of the Muslim world. It's Saturday and Sunday. We have no restriction in the way we are dressed, no restriction in the way that we eat. You can find alcohol if you want. And of course, we can, with safety and under security, proceed to the churches. We have churches here and we are not restricted. And we belong to the Patriarchate of Antiochia. And I open a parenthesis. If you go there as a Christian and as a Greek, you are going to feel blessed. Why? Because you meet the people from the Levantine, you meet the people from Syria, from Lebanon, the people that right now they are targeted by radicalism of Islam, not Islam in general, because I told you about the Emiratis, about from radicalism. And you can see that those that really come from the Byzantine time is not us, it's them. Those are the real Byzantines. I close the parenthesis. And
well, Stefanos, from the ancient times, or in the Middle Age, well, not ancient. First of all, the Emiratis have a very long tradition. It's 5,000 years that they've been there. The old kingdoms of the Persian Gulf. But if you compare the Islam in the Middle Ages, the early Islam, the Middle Age Islam, the modern day radical Islam, they have nothing in common.
They went backwards.
From the moment the Muslim Brotherhood was founded in 1929, and it joined forces with the Nazis, the German Nazis, we have this hybrid semi-religion, which is separate for, let's say, mainstream Muslim world. And we see it all around the world. We see it even in America. Muslims, half of the Muslims are terrified who live in America over the other half, the radicalized Muslims. It's getting very bad.
Yes, but I have to highlight that here in the UAE, among the Emiratis, I have seen, I have learned a different Islam. Everybody is respecting all the other people. It doesn't matter if they come from another religion or from another origin. This is something that they achieved here under a visionary leadership. And also, I have to remember that it was the Emiratis that supported us, and they are targeting all the networks of Turkey and of radicalism, because who is going to receive the legacy of Iran with the extremists? It's going to be Turkey. And Emiratis, the UAE, has targeted all those networks in Egypt, in Libya, in Sudan, or in Somalia and Somaliland right now. I would like to highlight, because we don't know it in Greece, that Marshal Sisi, President Sisi, was established in power not by himself. It was because mainly UAE supported him. They bought all the loans that Egypt had taken from Qatar, the Turkish-friendly state of Qatar. And it's because of them that radicalism is targeted anywhere. The Muslim Brotherhoods of Hassan al-Banna that came from Egypt, 1927, if I remember well, is a terrorist organization here in UAE. So those people, they are working for us. They supported us, and they gave us all the necessary equipment that we needed in crisis of 2020 to make it happen for our fleet to exit the naval station. So they supported us to make the S-class frigates that we own to exit the naval stations with particles. And also they supported us with Chinooks and mainly with Apaches. We should not forget this thing. There are people in Greece, I understand it, okay, that they like Iran. Yes, I understand this thing. I might not accept because those people they are killing, they are targeting their own people, this regime.
45,000.
But the point is, these people here, the Emiratis, the UAE, we have strong alliance. We have a treaty signed that we have to support them and they have to support us. During the crisis, they were there with the jets as well in 2020 and the Saudis as well. We should not forget it. I told in the beginning, in the introduction, the Arab states, they are not Zionists. They should not be part of the problem. So they are targeted by Iran. This should not happen. We should not target them ourselves in Greece in the public opinion because we might feel close to Iran. Yes, Iran has actually no reason to target those people and to cause casualties and dead people. So because the time is passing, if I may take the initiative, I would like to get involved in our conversation, Greece and Cyprus, because of course there are dangers under those circumstances, but also we have in these emerging architectures, we have opportunities. So may I jump to, let's say...
Yes, because I was about to ask you, in reality, who are Iran's allies and who are Iran's enemies? Because Iran's allies is one, or actually two. Turkey and China.
There is an eschatology, let's say, eschatological way to see the things. This happens also in Israel. Okay, we shouldn't hide behind our fingers, but also it happens in Iran. The way that they see the things, they are waiting their Mahdi. That means the hidden Imam, the 12th one. So there are people in Israel as well, but mainly in Iran right now, that they are taking actions in order to escalate the situation and force the history towards the eschatology events. So I close this parenthesis because this is very important. We try to analyze the things in the spectrum of the international relations. No, this is wrong. International relations, they don't get deep into the mindset of the people. We have to focus on the fourth pillar of geopolitics, that means information civilization, and see what is this source, this strength that forces people to act like animals. So just to go to our topic, and I would like to say that in this emerging architectures, because everything is changing, Greece and Cyprus are no longer peripheral actors. They are strategic pillars, and we have to act like that, and we have to take advantage of the situation for our sovereign rights and our sovereignty. So the discussion about the extension of 12 miles is something that has come to the surface. We should give our support, but not without taking something in advantage for ourselves. So right now, Greece provides advanced power capabilities. It has the ability to achieve interoperability with NATO. Of course, it's not in the discussion so far, but we have NATO members that they are acting on themselves. So we can provide interoperability. The Cyprus is a pillar, and if we step and we are anchored on Cyprus with our armed forces, yes, we can provide interoperability in the systems that will shape a big security line. And this strategic pacing is the one that extends our influence deep into the Eastern Mediterranean. So Cyprus, on the other hand, is what is occupying the critical geostrategic position. We saw the last weeks the importance of the air defense. If you control the air defense on Cyprus, you control part of the power, the military power and the power in general, in three continents, Europe, North Africa, and Asia. And this means it can function as a forward hub for surveillance, logistics, and regional coordination. And if we achieve to properly integrate it through what has historically been referred to as a unified defense between Greece and Cyprus, we can form a stabilized axis of security in the region. It's what we call in Greece enneos amedikos χώρος. So this is a great opportunity for us. And such an axis could support air and missile defense networks, enhance situational awareness for other key factors like the United States, and contribute finally to deterrence against both state, but very important, also non-state threats, because there are such threats like in Lebanon or in the region in general. In this spectrum, I wrote an article, if you allow me, about the Greek battalion of patriots that right now is positioned in Saudi Arabia and has achieved so far at least 2 valid kills. So the point is, when we come to the point that we regard that the objectives of this presence have been fulfilled, instead of shifting it back to Greece, we could position it to Cyprus. Somebody could say, yes, but we have Barak there. The point, the whole thinking is not focusing on tactical or even operational environment. It's focusing on strategic environment. This is the opportunity to enhance, to strengthen our military outprint in Cyprus, and we have to do it in all the ways, both to use air and naval powers, to send them like we did and keep them there, not to withdraw them, and also send the patriots there. So that was my proposal. The point is that in the big picture, if you allow me, the doctrine of enneos amedikos χώρος, that means the unified defense space between Greece and Cyprus, was developed in the 1990s. And it was based on a very simple principle, that the security of Greece and Cyprus it's the same, is indivisible. So today, as the Eastern Mediterranean emerges such a crisis, and this area is emerging as a critical geopolitical theater, both countries are called upon to transform geography into strategic advantage. So the permanent presence of Greek air and naval forces and the deployment of the Patriot system would not, let's say, merely represent an operational adjustment, like I said. It would send a clear strategic message, and that the principle of the unified security is being reactivated. And this is not just rhetoric. It has an operational reality, and we don't do it just for us. We pretend that we are doing for the others. So this is a mandatory asset, a mandatory precondition for other key factors in order to establish a security environment in the Eastern Mediterranean. So we are going to sell it like it's something it's mandatory for you, gentlemen. And we have it, we sell it, and this is going to create a better perspective for the future, for a good solution for us in the Cyprus issue.
I agree with you, Stefanos. You know, I've done a lot of work on the 3+1 integrated defense space, which would include Israel and other allies, not Turkey. And unfortunately, I feel that the same people who are rooting for Iran and Greece are the same ones who would be against either the Greece-Cyprus unified defense space or the Greece-Cyprus-Israel defense space. I don't really know if the Greek government will maintain the military presence in Cyprus. I hope so. but I'm not quite sure.
So that was my question. I actually wanted to ask if you both think there is the political will for it to be done, or if it's best if some other actor, let's say Israel or the US, take over and ensure it happens. So you shaking your head, Stephanie. I think that's a no.
Now it's the opportunity. Now it's the opportunity. We cannot let other players, even if we have right now aligned interests, to play the key role that we should play. It's not like the conventional obligations that we have after the 1960 treaty. The point is, there are Greeks there, to speak simply, and we have a moral obligation to support them. And for the future, Cyprus is not distant. It's not distant. Distance has never, let's say, prevented strategic action for anybody, from the ancient campaigns to modern conflicts. For example, for United Kingdom, what happened with Argentina was not treated in a way of distance. So there was no distance for them to go to the Falklands, and there is distance for us to reach Cyprus, while there was no distance in the past for Kimon with his fleet to reach the island and kick away the Persians. So there is no justification for us to remain in such a position, and politically or military to stay detached from Cyprus and the responsibilities towards Cyprus. Cyprus has the potential to transform from a point of vulnerability into a strategic spear head of the Hellenism in the Eastern Mediterranean and in the belly of Turkey. So it's not anymore our military disadvantage. Now it's the bridge for the Hellenism to expand the dynamic, the geopolitical dynamic that we have. And nature, what doesn't like, of course, is the vacuum. And if the vacuum is there, and it happens also in international relations, some other is going to cover it. And we don't want other key factors to cover it, even if it's going to be Israel. No. We have aligned interests at the specific time, but mostly we care about our interests. And we cannot forget, we are close to them, we support them, and we can even sign a treaty against Turkey. But the point is, we cannot forget that in the near past, they were against us in the S-300 case in Cyprus. Also, there were spy cases in Cyprus, and they were training the Turkish pilots invade in the Aegean Sea. This is something we highlight for them not to forget. Just to remember that they, in the near past, they made the decision to align with the weak horse. We are the strong horse, and they need us in the present situation more than we need them. This is something that we have to highlight. Now, the pillars of power, military power, especially must to be strengthened. They are in Cyprus. This will allow for deep, precise strikes if we come to the point that we are going to fight against the Turks. So, like I said, from a disadvantage, it's going to turn as a step of advantage against Turkey in its soft belly. So at present, Turkey uses the coercion effectively to convince us that you should not make any step, and they leverage its military and especially its air power to force political outcomes. This is something that we have to do as well, because we have the advantage right now. We have Rafales, we are buying F-35s, we are upgrading our F-16 fleet, we are receiving new frigates, and the political synastry is in our favor right now. So we have to switch from deterrence to clear coercion. We have to be coercive again. And we have continued what we mentioned previously, that we have to support our strengthening in the air power spectrum, because air power is global power, and we have to start discussing about establishing Airforce arm in Cyprus. Because, like I said, Turkey, they use coercive strategy right now. If Greece and Cyprus could integrate and fully utilize their power, they can break out this downward spiral that they are entering. They are in the last 4 decades. For the first time, and reverse this strategic dynamic. Now, the creation of a dedicated Cypriot Cyprus air power capability, whether under the Hellenic Air Force or directly within the National Guard, is not an ambition vision. It's a necessity. It is a tactical, operational, and all above strategic necessity. In modern warfare, if you do not control the air domain, you cannot survive on the ground. So this is a problem, and we cannot come to solve this problem when we are fighting the time that we are going to be fighting against Turkey, and this is going to happen. The priority of the Air Force is not to act like supporting arm to army or navy. The priority is to supersede, to win against the opponent's air power. So we have to focus to gather our forces there. We cannot divide our forces. That means if during the time of war with Turkey, we divide our forces, we might create big problem in the Aegean theater. So this is a problem that we cannot start thinking and solving during the crisis or the war. We have it to solve it from now. If you study Alexander de Seversky, if you study Billy Mitchell, if you study all the air power theories, they say that air power has to be a congested force in the value of time and geography. We cannot divide. So long story short, it is a necessity to create from now such a force. Are there available assets? Of course there are. The Minister of Defense 2 years ago announced that we have the intention to suspend the operation of 32 F-16 Block 30s and 24 Mirage 2000-5 that the Hellenic Air Force owns. So with the financial support of Cyprus, we could, like I said, establish a dedicated for Cyprus fighter squadron that could be based in Castelli Air Base in Crete for safety, for security, and on QRA status, 4 to 6 to 8 maximum aircraft could be stationed in Paphos Air Base. So if the time comes, this force could join in the same point and support initially the aggressiveness of Turkey in Cyprus. So establishing, and I'm putting an end, establishing a Cyprus air arm integrated with the Greek power would fundamentally alter the balance in the Eastern Mediterranean. The Turks would have to shift their forces from the Aegean theater and spread them south in order to cover also the Cyprus theater. It would force them to redistribute the forces, create pressure on what we would call its strategic soft underbelly, and at the same time relieve pressure in the Aegean. Now, from the operational perspective, this does not require a massive permanent deployment. Like I said, a small high readiness force combined with high reinforcement from Greece, from Crete, could create an immediate deterrent effect and disrupt any initial offensive action. But beyond the operational level, this is about something much bigger. It's about doctrine. For decades, air power theories from Giulio Douhet to Billy Mitchell and Alexander de Seversky have emphasized one fundamental principle. I want to make it clear. I keep discussing about it because it's very critical, and I don't want to face it as a system, a military and political system during the crisis. Control of the air determines the outcome of a conflict. If Turkey achieves air superiority over Cyprus, it will be able to strike ground forces with precision and mass. And that alone can decide the conflict in Cyprus. So the real question is not whether Cyprus should develop air power. The real question is whether Greece and Cyprus are willing to act in time in the political spectrum. Because the current geopolitical environment, the United States engagement, the regional partnerships, and the shifting balances create a rare window to act, a rare window of opportunity. We have to take chance. It's now the time. Now, not later on. We cannot just delay everything.
I totally agree with you. But I'd like to interject something before you continue. Greece has to understand that it must adopt not just a defensive posture, but also strike first capability. Because if we're talking here continuously just interception and defense. Your opponent will keep producing, sending more stuff at you. Greece and Cyprus and the neighboring countries, I mean, we see it in Iran, must be able to, he who dares wins. They must be able to have a strike first. And unfortunately, I don't see this. I would like your comment on the strike first.
Like I already mentioned, it's time to act, not in terms of it's time to act coercively. And air power is not just a military tool. It's the primary instrument of coercion in modern strategy. And right now, Turkey is using coercion effectively, and this is what we see. We speak about deterrence, the acts in terms of coercion. And in Greece and Cyprus, if Greece and Cyprus, we fail to respond in kind by integrating and projecting their own air power, we will be trapped, and they will remain in this same posture. So the balance cannot be shifted. We have to keep the balance, and we have the ability right now and the chance to shift the balance in terms of our favor for the first time. And being there, it's not just about systems or deployments. It's about shaping a new security architecture in the Eastern Mediterranean. We should promote it. We should sell it to the allies as a demand for themselves first. So we have a synastry, a geopolitical synastry. It's a unique opportunity. A Greece-Cyprus axis potentially aligned with Israel can redefine and can define actually a new strategic rimland, like Spikeman was saying, with the three frontline states, Greece, Cyprus, and Israel. Turkey will be outside of this rimland because they are not reliable. They have their own 3 milestones. And what are those? 2024, 100 years after the establishment of the modern Turkish state. They want to be among the G20s. They achieved this thing. Then 2053, 600 years after the siege of Constantinople, they intend to be in the G5. And 2071, 1,000 years after the Battle of Magiker that anchored them in Asia Minor, they want to be among G3. Is this logical? It's not logical, but this is an indication, a proof of how those people think. So those people, they are unreliable. They are doing things on their own. They cannot be part of the security alignment of the United States. And this is what we are trying to convince our friends in the States about. It's a Turkey you knew. That was the Kemalistic Turkey, and it struggled to survive all those years. What came with Erdogan is the real essence of Turkism. The Turkism is the mixture among the Turkish nationalism, among the beliefs of the Asia, and among the radical Islam. This thing cannot be embedded into the West. So the convergence of Greece and Cyprus reflects not only military necessity, it's a unified strategic identity for the West and for the main actor like United States. So in today's environment, this identity combined with capability, that means air power, that means footprint, that means printout of military Greek presence, should be established and anchored in Cyprus. This is for the benefit of the Western architecture. And Greece has already demonstrated very quickly that it can act as a credible outsider. We are in Bulgaria, we are in over Albania, over Montenegro, over Skopje. We are covering now Saudi Arabia, and we are in Cyprus. And we responded very quickly. Nobody else made this thing. So we prove ourselves as a credible security provider. And through deployments like the Patriot, like we already mentioned, and our presence in Cyprus, we do it. And the key question now is strategic. Where should that capability be positioned next? From a geostrategic perspective, not for the Greek people, but for the United States of America, it should be in Cyprus. And also, the Cyprus issue is not an issue between the two communities. It's an issue of invasion and occupation. and
Absolutely,
we should
absolutely.
look outside.
Well said. And I have to point out here that one of the big problems in Cyprus currently is the British. The British, two British bases that are being completely neglected. In my opinion, America should step in and completely take them over and help the Greeks, the Cypriots, and the Israelis set up some serious deterrence over there.
Right now, it's proven that the British factor is totally unreliable for United States, so they don't need anymore. And there is a discussion after the proposal of Professor Mazis again about the, let's say, the possibility, the option for Cyprus to become a NATO member. If this thing happens, so there is no excuse for the presence of United Kingdom's bases in Cyprus. So that's it. It's not about. Everything is about shaping a new architecture. A Greece-Cyprus axis potentially aligned with other regional parts like Israel and Egypt. We have to save Egypt. Can become a frontline pillar of Western security in the Eastern Mediterranean, at least. And in today's strategic environment, those who control and integrate it in capability, they are going to shape the outcome. This is the point, and this is the time to start withdrawing from what we discussed the last 40 years in Cyprus as community with the Turks for those bilateral solutions, and speak about the vision of liberating the occupied places. We have to extend the presence and the power of the Cyprus democracy, the Republic of Cyprus, over all the territory of the Cyprus island. It's this and nothing else.
Actually, there's a lot of dissent. Sorry to interrupt you. There's a lot of dissent in the northern part of Cyprus with the Turkish occupation. The original Cypriots of Muslim faith are completely against this situation. Even the colonists have switched. They don't want Turkey anymore. They can't say it.
Those people, yes, they are
the difference between the north and the south is completely. But I want to, because time is passing, and people might be getting a little bit tired. Before I ask you to make your closing statement, I ask a lot of people, especially here in Greece, when push comes to shove, and Israel, at some point, has enough of Turkish aggression, and Saudi Arabia understands that Turkey's ultimate goal is to take over, not possibly by military intervention, but by political intervention over Mecca and Medina.
Islam in general.
Exactly. They've already taken over some of the centers of Islam. They've taken over basically the Waqfa in Jerusalem, which they control. They control Damascus. They tried in Egypt. Alex, you're very knowledgeable about that. They will try again. The question is the West, countries like Greece, Cyprus, the United States too, are we ready to shun away this red-green alliance, red being the Marxists, green the radical Nazi Islamists? Are we ready to push away that narrative and look back at restoring normal West? Will we all come up with? That's my question.
Stefan, you go first because I have very strong sentiments about it.
Stefanos.
The Neo-Turks were close to their German advisors about how to manipulate and how to eliminate finally Greeks and Armenians. So 2 decades later, Hitler used the same experience from the Turks that they had given them before. So this is a close tie because you mentioned about the Nazi Muslims. Now, the we need to have a clear vision, and we have to understand that we live in the era of cynicism, and we cannot just go and sleep in the way that we were doing in the past. So after Iran, next problem to be solved is this problem of Turkey. Because if somebody goes deep in their beliefs and the way that they are thinking, he will understand that there is no comeback to the West. And they are going to use any hat that is in their advantage, for example, the legacy, the Ottoman legacy, in order to claim that areas where the Israelites now, okay, it's Muslim, not Muslim, it's Ottoman legacy, and they need to have their word. The point is that, like I mentioned, it's a unique opportunity right now to convince the key factor player, that is the United States, that you should stop dealing your plan with this player, Turkey. The only reliable players in the area is Greece, Cyprus, and Israel. And we have to kick out the Turks from Cyprus, not only because it's according to international law, but it's according to your interest. It's according to the interest of the new planning of a new architecture. Because, like I told you, the current crisis will be the flame that will reshape the geopolitical map in real time. It's doing it in real time. And countries that understand the importance of power, of alliances, and strategic geography, like Greece and Cyprus, we have the opportunity to play a far more decisive role by supporting our interests and, of course, support the case of the big player. This is the key point. Take advantage of all the opportunities, avoid the dangers, and whatever we give, we have to take something back. We just cannot give things without taking anything back. This is the big picture.
That's what's being discussed in Washington.
England has been a problem for a very long time. Germany is a problem for a very long time. They're not willing to conform within the Western values, whatever those might be, whether they're more centrist or more capitalist.
They call it the British Caliphate.
It is. It is. But it's also there mentally and has been there mentally since, I would say, the 60s, right? Or a lot more. So for me, this architecture that needs to be set up needs to focus a little bit on things. It's obvious that Greece has become an updated strategic partner. This means that it also needs to update its strategy internally, its foreign policy, its military decisions, its role within the region. Egypt too needs to be protected against any potential moves from Turkey in the future, Turkey and or China and or Qatar. Whatever you may want to name it. So these countries that are going to be there in the Eastern Mediterranean set up the architecture of tomorrow, that are going to be the long-term allies of the new Western front, the new West. They need to realize that they have power beyond strategy. They have power in terms of trade. They can have power in terms of soft power. They can dominate the airspace, as Stefanos said. They can dominate the naval space. And they could potentially, going back to the original question I made to you both, even play a role in the potential space, actual physical space. So you mentioned, Jonathan, that these discussions are being made. My question to you is, are they being made on a realistic spectrum of 30, 40, 50 years down the line, how these nations will come into power and how it will stabilize, not just 2-3 years down the line?
What we saw in the NATO, which has all these problems, we saw Britain, France, Spain, Romania, Germany refused to grant the United States the right to pass over there and use the bases. NATO is becoming probably a thing of the past because, as I say, it's not their problem, and their problem in Ukraine is not our problem. But in the Eastern Mediterranean, the Arabian Peninsula, we have 3 choke points. Suez Canal, Malden, Hormuz. It's far more important for us, the United States, to cement the Abrams Accords and to provide countries that are friendly, like the United Arab Emirates, the platform in which they will prosper and overshadow antagonistic countries like Britain, Iran, China, and bring in a new architecture. This whole move in Iran was one action, 15 reactions. What happens is not just one game changer, a lot of game changers at the same time. One move. So, in closing, what I am saying, just hold your breath, guys. There's a lot of stuff coming. Question is, who's going to play ball with us? And this is I'm going to repeat the suggestion of the Greek people to the Greek government, which it would be in 2020, and then it was refused for the 3+1 alliance. Because NATO isn't working, but regional alliances, they're more flexible, they're more suited to the areas, they're tailor-made to solve the problems of the specific countries. I mean, Greece, Cyprus, Egypt, Israel, all have one in them. One.
Yeah, but the Europeans are not looking at it that way. They're looking at a European equivalent of NATO, which is the wrong way to go.
Well, we're not talking NATO. We're talking a regional alliance, which is guaranteed by the United States and India. Okay? We made that proposal in 20 as 3+1. We came back with it. Now it's 3+2. Who's the adversary? The red-green alliance. Okay. I mean, we rest our case. We showed we're the most powerful nation in the world. We showed that we have the back of our allies. I mean, really have the back. And we will finish this and finish it soon and with great effectiveness. And whoever didn't take part of it, well, just let history pass you by.
Stefan, any parting words?
Jonathan, ultimately and fundamentally, what I would like to close with is that, and this is how I think we should act. I care only about my national interest. And right now it's the time to move forward and try and solve some critical and long-term issues like the expansion of the national territorial waters. Why not in the east part of Crete and the east part of Greece's mainland? Now it's the time, at least, I say at least, and start speaking about a valid plan to kick away, I will say it in simple words, the occupational troops from Cyprus. So this is the unique opportunity. We are in front of a new Sykes-Picot. We have to act and to engage in what is happening. Otherwise, if we are not going to be around the table, we're going to be in the menu.
Exactly. We're going to be gobbled up.
We have to take advantage of, at this time, the current time, the alignment of our interests with Israel. And I understand some people in Greece, they might be close to Iran, but the point is, first of all, we are Greeks, and our factor that affects our security and our daily life and the future of our kids is Turkey. So, territory, and we have to coordinate with other key factors in the area how to suppress and how to be coercive against Turkey. The division of Turkey and a new Sykes-Picot that might separate this territorial big land into different political parts is something that we should keep discussing all the time on every table we participate. Thank you.
We'll save that for next time we speak in English.
It was great having you both. Thank you very much for joining, Stefanos. I wish you all the best in the UAE. Do keep us posted on how things go. It's inspiring to hear that it's safe down there because you hear a lot of voices, and it's good. It's good overall to see that the UAE is maintaining its leadership. Jonathan, thank you for having us here, for helping us host this. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great day.